I always thought I understood love, family, and boundaries. As a woman who married my husband, Jake, a widower with a son, Carter, I knew it wouldn't be easy to fit into their world. Carter had just turned 14 when I became part of their family. The transition had been rocky. For a long time, I was the outsider, the woman who was trying to replace his mother in the most intimate spaces of his life. I never pushed him, never tried to replace his mother, but I knew I had to earn his trust and respect. At first, things were awkward, but eventually, Jake and I settled into a routine. Carter, while distant, was polite. We made small talk over dinners, and I could tell that he was trying. His smile, though rare, was my signal that perhaps I wasn't as bad as he originally thought. Our home was filled with the usual tension of a blended family, but I believed in the concept of time healing all things. Jake had been a great father. He was patient, kind, and supportive. His devotion to Carter was unquestionable, and as a wife, I admired him for that. But despite our good relationship, I couldn't help but feel a sense of separation between me and Carter, as though there was an invisible line that neither of us dared to cross. I kept my distance, understanding that Carter might always have a certain loyalty to his late mother. I was the stepmom, and I knew my place. Life continued like that for a few years. Carter turned 15 and became increasingly withdrawn. He spent more time in his room, playing video games or talking to his friends online. He was entering those difficult teenage years when everything seemed to feel more complicated. And I was learning that raising a teenager wasn't all it was cracked up to be. One summer afternoon, the world as I knew it would change forever. It was a Tuesday, one of those unbearably hot days when the air felt thick and unrelenting. Jake had left for a business trip that morning, and it was just me and Carter at home. It was rare that we had a day like this to ourselves, and I decided to make the best of it. Carter had a friend over, but after an hour of loud laughter and video games, the house fell into a peaceful silence. Carter's friend had left, and I found myself alone with my stepson. I had just finished preparing lunch when Carter appeared in the kitchen, looking unusually serious. His expression was different from the typical teenage scowl, and it made me pause. He leaned against the counter, fiddling with his phone as though trying to find the right words. "Hey, can we talk?" he asked, his voice quiet but earnest. "Of course," I replied, trying not to sound too eager. It was rare for Carter to want to talk about anything serious, especially with me. "What's on your mind?" He shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact. It was clear that whatever he was about to say wasn't easy for him. I stood there, waiting for him to continue, unsure of what direction the conversation would take. "Well, you know how things have been with us. Since you came into the picture," Carter began. I nodded, sensing the heaviness in his words. "I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and there's something I need to get off my chest." I felt a pang of anxiety tighten in my chest. I wasn't sure what to expect from him, but I knew it was important. Carter wasn't one to open up easily, and his tone suggested that this conversation might be different from anything we'd had before. "I don't know how to say this, but I just feel like you're trying to replace my mom. And I hate it. I hate how I feel about it, and I hate how it makes me feel about you," he said, his voice rising in frustration. His words hit me like a slap in the face, each one harder than the last. For a moment, I stood frozen, unable to respond. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what he had just said. I wasn't trying to replace his mother. I had never wanted to take her place. I had only wanted to be a supportive presence in his life. But hearing his pain, I realized that I had made the mistake of thinking that time alone would heal our relationship. I hadn't addressed the underlying tension, the resentment that had been festering in him for so long. "I'm not trying to replace your mom, Carter," I finally managed to say, my voice trembling. "I can't replace her. She was your mom, and she will always be a part of you. But I'm here for you. I just want to be a part of your life, too." Carter shook his head, his eyes welling up with tears. "You don't get it. Every time you do something, like cooking dinner or trying to have fun with me, I feel like you're erasing her. I don't want to be part of your family. I want my mom back." The rawness of his words cut through me. In that moment, I realized how much Carter had been suffering in silence, how much he had been pushing me away because he couldn't reconcile the woman I was with the memories of his mother. He hadn't been trying to reject me. He had been trying to protect the memory of someone he loved deeply. It broke my heart to know that I had inadvertently become a symbol of his pain, the embodiment of everything he had lost. And yet, in that same instant, I also realized that our relationship could never move forward until we addressed this painful truth. This wasn't just about me being a stepmom. It was about him learning how to live with the absence of his mother and finding a way to embrace the new family he had, even if it didn't look like the one he had imagined. I sat down at the kitchen table, motioning for Carter to do the same. "I'm sorry," I said softly, trying to find the right words. "I never meant to make you feel like that. I know I can't replace your mom, and I wouldn't want to. But I do want to be here for you, Carter. In whatever way that works for you." He didn't respond immediately, but after a long silence, he finally met my gaze. "I just don't know how to handle it. How do you? How do you live with someone who isn't her?" I exhaled slowly, realizing that Carter wasn't just angry at me. He was grieving. Grieving the loss of his mother, and grieving the family he would never get back. "I don't have all the answers," I said, my voice steady but filled with emotion. "But I'm willing to figure it out with you if you'll let me. We don't have to be a perfect family, but we can try to be a family, however that looks." The conversation didn't magically fix everything, but it opened a door. It didn't erase the tension or the pain Carter felt, but it was a starting point. For the first time in a long while, I saw a glimmer of hope that we could find common ground, that we could build a relationship not based on replacing someone, but on understanding and respecting each other's boundaries. In the weeks that followed, things began to shift. The tension between us didn't disappear overnight, but there was a new level of communication. Carter started to let me in, little by little. We began spending more time together, even if it was just sitting in silence, watching a movie. He still had moments when he'd retreat into his room, but there was an openness now that hadn't been there before. He would talk to me about school, about his friends, about life. And while I knew that the road ahead would still be difficult, I felt more hopeful than ever before. That day, the day Carter crossed a boundary and spoke the words I had been afraid to hear, changed everything. It wasn't the end of the story, but it was a turning point. It was a moment of truth, one that allowed us to confront our feelings, our fears, and our expectations.